Hey guys, Claire here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about all things Harry and Meghan. So for the past few days, I've been seeing a smattering of comments in my comment section of some people having an issue with the First Lady of Nigeria, saying that she's attacking Meghan and it's so horrible. And I've also seen a few comments saying, hey, Meghan's not a good person, because look what the First Lady of Nigeria said about her. So I decided that I wanted to see and hear personally what the First Lady said. Since I've been paying attention to Harry and Meghan, one thing I have noticed is that when news about Harry and Meghan comes from a certain subsection of the media, particularly the British media, and from royal stands, 9 times out of 10, things are taken out of context and spun in a way that would be negative towards Harry and Meghan. And after listening to the entirety of the First Lady's speech, I was left wondering, where was the insult? But reading the comments and seeing the snippets of the videos provided via the media, you would think that she was being very critical of Meghan.
The message here is we have to salvage our children. We see the way they dress. They keep forgetting that Nigeria, we are beautiful. The moment you can see what they showcase on the stage, I said we are fashionable. We see what is going on. We are not having a Met Gala. And everyone, their nakedness is just everywhere. And the men are well clothed. So we have to do something. They don't want to be like, even they are mimicking and trying to emulate film stars from America. They don't know where they come from. Why did Meghan come here looking for Africa? That is something we have to take home with. We know who we are, and don't lose who you are.
Personally, I felt like the First Lady's message was directed towards the young folk of Nigeria, encouraging them to embrace their culture and all that it entails, instead of focusing on trying to emulate Western culture. She's saying, hey, Meghan, who is obviously from the West, came to Africa to find her roots, to embrace it, because it is beautiful. That's what I got from that. You guys let me know what you think. The First Lady of Nigeria's office has responded in kind to clarify those false claims. So according to the First Lady's office, her reference to the Duchess of Sussex was about her journey to understand her identity and where she came from after Meghan learned about her Nigerian heritage. She meant Meghan appreciates the people we are and hence her coming here. At no point did she say anything about Meghan's dressing. The clarification follows inaccurate reports from various media outlets suggesting that the speech directly criticized the Duchess of Sussex's tour wardrobe. Seriously, these royal fans, whether they're career-wise commentators or the garden variety people on social media who have made it a part of their personality to find fault with everything Meghan does, really needs to give it up. You guys have been doing this for what, 7-8 years? In the meantime, I'm just over here waiting to see when American Riviera Orchard is going to launch. I'm over here waiting to see that new show on Netflix.
I don't know who needs to know this, but anything that Meghan Markle is selling, I'm buying. Anything that she is selling, I'm buying. If it's jam, I'm buying it. If it's butter, I'm buying it. If it's nipple cream, I'm buying it. Anything she produces or makes, I am going to buy it and I'm going to support her. The end.
Now, on to the shenanigans of King Charles. In the last video, I theorized that I personally feel that a part of the reason William is so angry with Harry leaving the firm is that William feels like Harry has deprived him of the control that he would have over Harry's life when he becomes the monarch. We talked about Charles having control over the lives of his siblings, Anne, Andrew, Edward, where they can stay, what roles that they play within the institution, where they need to go, and how they need to represent Charles, aka the Crown. And less than 24 hours later, I saw tweets from Kate Manzi talking about the recent developments between Charles and Andrew. And to me, that further cements what I have suspected all along. the toxic and dysfunctional sibling rivalry between the Windsors plays a huge part in the dysfunction of that family, especially with Harry and William. Remember, we have all thought that the relationship between the two brothers were far more warm than it really was behind the scenes. And that is because the palace and the press has fabricated this narrative over the years. And Harry and William sort of smile and go with it. But behind the scenes, they weren't as warm and cuddly.
I mean, I think we painted this lovely picture that they were great friends, but they weren't. There was always huge rivalry between them. And I think after their mother died, they had a sort of love-in together. They used to do a lot of interviews together, and they had that concert at Wembley. But they were never really great friends. There was always this rivalry, like, you know, often with siblings there are. And I agree with Hannah. I can't see it happening until maybe many, many years in the future. If there were a disaster struck one or other of them, that would bring them together.
Now, according to Manzi, the king is proposing to continue supporting both Andrew and his former wife, Sarah Ferguson, with whom the Duke lives at the Royal Lodge, from his own pocket, but at the more modest Frogmore Cottage. During her investigation, she saw the lease which Andrew holds. However, she also found that the king gives Andrew well in excess of £4 million a year to live there, including an estimated £3 million security bill. And he no longer thinks it's an appropriate use of his private funds. In her exclusive, she states that the king wants the Duke of York out of the Royal Lodge, his 30-room mansion, but Prince Andrew refuses to budge. Now, the king threatens to cut the funding he gives to his brother. So much to unpack there. So this is the same Charles who told Harry that there's not enough money for Meghan. Let's not forget that. And this is the same Charles who, knowing the massive amount of security threats against Harry, against Meghan, against baby Archie, pulled the security, didn't take Harry's call, and says that he doesn't have enough money to offer proper protection to Harry when he is in the UK. The same Charles who didn't take Harry's phone call when the location of Harry, Meghan, and the baby were leaked while they were in Canada. Unsecure, with insane threats against their lives, and he couldn't be bothered to pick up the phone. But he has all of this money to give to Andrew. Also, knowing that Andrew is, according to them, no longer a working royal, right? So Andrew also gets security that he pays for out of his own pocket. But he doesn't have enough money for Harry, didn't have enough money for Meghan, but he had enough money for the non-working royal Andrew, who stopped being a working royal, not because there were threats against him, but because the calls for him to be removed were so loud after the allegations made against him. And this is after the royals ponied up in excess of £12 million. When I tell you, Harry is a better person than me. Because, honey, I would have went scorched earth. By the time I'm burning bridges, I'm burning everything. I'm burning olive trees so that there are no olive branches to be extended one way or the other. Because I cannot understand. There is no reasoning I can think of that makes what Charles has done over these past few years, putting Harry in such a precarious situation, knowing how things worked out with Princess Diana. I cannot unsee that, and I can never look at Charles and William in the same way, especially Charles. He is the grandfather, he is the father, he is the monarch, he is the head of the church. He is in a unique position to fix things. He has been. And I feel like he's been playing this all from behind the scenes long before he became monarch. So while the Queen was making sure that she tended to keep an Andrew safe, Charles was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that for my son. Yeah, I see my mother doing that for my brother, but I'm not going to do that for my son. My son, whose crime apparently is marrying this American biracial woman and sucking up all the oxygen making us look boring. That's Harry's crime. My son who decided to protect his wife and son. No, I don't have the money to do that. I have the money for Andrew, not my son, not my daughter-in-law, and not my grandchild. And then they have the audacity to have aides and courtiers leak these stupid stories to members of the Rota, talking about he's a concerned grandpa that wants to meet his grandkids. Where do you get off? So that makes me wonder, all the conspiracies surrounding Princess Diana's security and ultimately the conspiracies surrounding her passing, it makes me think of that letter that she wrote that says, I'm sitting here at my desk today in October, longing for someone to hug me and encourage me to keep strong and hold my head high. This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. My husband is planning an accident in my car. It makes me think of that. Harry's a better man than I am. Truly. Because in a lot of ways, when I read Spare, I felt like he humanized Charles in a way that was surprising to me. Maybe there's more behind the scenes that we're not seeing, but from what I'm seeing and reading, I don't think he deserved that. And when he flew over to the UK to see him, after all that he has done, after the many times that he has turned his back on his son and grandson, after the part that he's played with fostering relationships in the people in the media who, on a daily basis, dehumanize your son, your daughter-in-law, and your grandchildren. I just don't know if I would be able to hop on a plane to see if you were okay. You know, I'd wish you well because I truly believe in karma, and I never wish ill on others, no matter what I feel about you. But will I hop, skip, and jump in your time of need? No, baby. No. I'll say a prayer for you. I'll talk to you on the telephone. We can Zoom if you'd like. But yeah, maybe I need to work on that. Disappointed doesn't even begin to describe how I feel. It's disheartening. Knowing all that Diana went through and how that ended. This is what Charles chooses to do. And I feel like this is the fate that William wanted for Harry. When we read Spare, remember, Harry talked about William being mad, saying Africa is mine. Or William being bothered that the Queen allowed Harry to wear the little uniform that he wanted to wear for his wedding. Or William being bothered by the fact that the Queen allowed Harry to have his beard for his wedding day. Or William being bothered that the Queen gave Harry that, I can't remember the exact title, but something to do with the Commonwealth. And I'm not a fan of Elizabeth, but she saw that Harry had the touch when it comes to doing these tours. So she rightfully gave Harry that role. And I even remember seeing a video of, I think it's Emily Andrews, who basically said the same thing. She was like, she doesn't understand why William was so put out that the Queen gave this role to Harry when William was going to be the monarch anyway. You're going to be the head of the state anyway. So why are you so angry that the Queen gave this to Harry? William seems to have this unhealthy obsession with controlling aspects of Harry's life. And I think that he genuinely is angry that Harry has now robbed him of doing that. And with every success that Harry and Meghan enjoys outside of the institution, that further cements the unlikeliness that they will ever return to be under the control of William. But that's just my theory. What do you guys think?
William, darling, take it from me, and I know you won't because you're your father's son. But if you had any sense, and God knows you ought to by now, dear heart, you'd take it on the chin like the prince you are and apologize to your brother. I know you think it's he who should apologize, but I need you, William, to focus on how little that matters anymore. What sort of king do you imagine you're going to be in the 21st century if you're not on speaking terms with the people's prince? I'll tell you what kind, the besieged kind. You'll be barricaded in your castle while those ghastly clowns in Westminster pillage Britain and Fleet Street convinces the poor people it's your fault, and you know where that leads. Harry will be gallivanting around with the entire Commonwealth in his pocket. And you, darling, at the rate you're going, you'll be lucky to hang on to the crown. I'm sorry, but you know it's true. And who else is going to tell you? Because let's face it, your father's entirely lost control of the narrative, hasn't he? As for that minx you married, I do declare I half think she's the root of the problem. Glad to hear she's home and recovering, by the way, from whatever it was. But not one for competition, is she? Pulled rank on the newcomer, then found she couldn't pull focus. It looks bad, William. It reeks of red. It looks so bad that any fool could see you and Catherine need to put aside whatever personal objections you have to that lovely girl and meet the challenges of Harry's book. You know he has a point, darling, and half the kingdom may be backing you, but it's not the larger half. It's up to you, William, to mend this breach. And if not for the sake of the kingdom, then do it to save your own arse.
The Duchess of Eden also touched on the topic of the dysfunctional dynamic between the heir versus the spares, and how in the House of Windsor, that dynamic where the spares are reliant on the whims of the heir creates a problematic environment.
They left. I don't think it's as easy for Catherine to do that.
Okay, so this video has given me a lot to think about. Now, one thing that I will say is that I don't think that Harry gave Meghan a voice. I don't think that that is an accurate representation of what happened at that time. Because we all know, unfortunately, Harry has always been a victim and a prisoner of the British royal family. And to some of the points that you were making, everybody is. Everybody that's born into that family, everybody that marries in that family becomes a prisoner of the system. And quite frankly, whoever the monarch is at that time and that person's whims. There's almost no way out when you are born in that family and when you marry into that family. We know one of the main reasons why Harry and Meghan wanted to do the half in, half out thing was because of the abuse from the UK media. A UK media that was being fueled with stories by Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace, so Harry's family. And they didn't allow them to do the half in, half out thing because they wanted to maintain complete and utter control over Harry and Meghan. And this is why they took away their security. And this is why they took away their money, to force them back into the clutches of the British royal family. And listen, it would have worked. It would have worked with anybody else in that family because they wouldn't have had the community and resources to do what Harry and Meghan did. But that community and that resource was Meghan's, not Harry's. Nobody expected a Tyler Perry to catch them when they fell, to give them a safe place to live, to give them time to figure things out. Nobody expected a Beyonce stamp of approval or Serena Williams standing side by side with them. Nobody expected an Oprah and a Kevin Costner. And I can go on about the people that stood with Meghan Markle because of the relationships and the community that she built in Hollywood. That was why they were able to get away. That is why they were able to use their voices and do what they did. Not because of Harry. And again, this is no shade, no tea to Harry. Everybody knows I love me some Harry. But he just didn't have the power to do so. That's how they keep those people prisoner. And it also had a lot to do with Meghan's nationality. Now, listen, I know a lot of people swear up and down they hate Americans. But the reality is that America is a powerful enough country to keep the UK media and the British royal family at bay. They don't have the same power and sway over here. Harry and Meghan are safer living in the States than they are living in the UK or probably anywhere else in the world. And this is very important to remember when we're talking about Kate Middleton. Because if there's this idea that Kate is using her silence as a way to finally stand up to the British royal family, because Kate doesn't have any of the resources that Meghan Markle did. Now, everybody knows I'm not a fan of Kate Middleton. I think that she was more than happy to play into the hate and abuse when it came to Meghan Markle. But again, if she's using her silence as a weapon, y'all need to check in on that woman. Because she doesn't have any wealth, power, status. She doesn't have a country to go to. And her family's not powerful enough to protect her. I mean, hell, Diane's family wasn't powerful enough to protect her. Think the Middletons could?
Kate has already done her job. She's already given them an heir and 2 spares. If she's not willing to do her job as a wife, then what good is she? At least in the eyes of the British royal family. Her children belong to the crown, so even if she left, they would have to stay. There's nowhere for her to go. And there's no way that they're going to allow her to live in castles and experience the wealth that they have as she's using her silence against them. They wouldn't allow it. They would not allow it. Especially considering that the British royal family has humiliated themselves in front of the entire world in the way that they have handled Kate Middleton's disappearance. The British royal family is incredibly dangerous, and it is incredibly powerful. And it has shown time and time and time again that they are above the law. And if the stories are true and her husband truly does have issues, you think he let his wife be out there embarrassing him and he wouldn't do anything about it? Kate is so incredibly vulnerable to that family. There's nowhere for her to go if everything falls apart.
And we found out on March 22nd that she had care, I left it alone. But now, a couple of months down the line, the story keeps changing in ways that are uncomfortable. And for a British royal family that does not have a good track record protecting its female family members, I feel like there's cause for concern. We saw her practically skipping through farmers markets, and then weeks later we're told that she would not be able to come out on public duties for months. Reports are saying that she's very hands-on in the Center for Early Childhood and the projects going along with that, but she's not able to be in public or seen in public at all. For some strange, uncomfortable reason, Rose Hanbury has taken over headlines, newspapers, and has been said to be cozying up to Camilla. Like, what's going on? Dude, apparently her son was the one carrying the robes of the king. I feel like we should be asking questions here. And then this monstrosity of a front page came out, and let's just say it didn't go over well. And as if things couldn't get any weirder, we got word that the royal family was ceasing all public events that took away any attention from the election campaign that was announced for July 4th. Since when has the royal family ever had to go toe-to-toe with governmental issues such as that? This is bizarre and literally unprecedented. Meanwhile, her husband is throwing garden parties. Her brother is dropping a memoir soon, talking about the royal family, which he has quote-unquote insight into, so it's okay if he does it. That's fine. Pippa, her sister, is throwing extravagant parties. Before removing herself from public life, Kate Middleton was the most photographed woman in the world. If you're truly a royalist and a fan of this woman, you should be more concerned than those of us who are just merely watching from afar. Rumors circulating her health are not good, and the palace is doing nothing to help quell this. This article also came out about Kate Middleton and how she may not appear in public for the rest of the year. And it weirdly stated that she was surrounded by her birth family. Making that distinction was a very strange addition to this article. With the success of the Sussexes' Nigeria trip and all of the insider information that we received about the displeasure in the palace, putting her in front of cameras would have helped divert the situation. I completely understand the devastating effects that cancer has on the body. My grandfather passed from prostate cancer, and no two diagnoses are the same. But at the end of the day, if we are being realistic, she is a forward-facing member of the royal family, and any time she spends away from the public is perceived as not great. There's just so many PR ways this could be handled, and the fact that it's not being handled is what's concerning.
So what do you guys think? Is the math not mathing for you? Do you believe that William, much like Charles, relishes in exerting that control that comes with being the heir/monarch, or not? If you have any video suggestions, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And with all the heavy stuff that we've talked about recently, let's end this on a lighter note.
So it's a riveting show about so it's a show about lawyers, right? So basically, who is that? Butler, get her on the phone right now. Wait.
Yes?
Wait, when you do, hit her with, you trying to become a queen? Shit,